Hey everyone, welcome back to Connectedness. I'm so glad you're here today because we're talking about something that touches so many of us, whether we realize it or not. And that's how ADHD shapes the way that we connect with the people around us and the way that we see ourselves. My guest today is Kathleen Long, an ADHD life coach and the founder of Coached by Kath LLC. Kathleen brings over 20 years of experience in education into her coaching. But what makes her work so powerful is that she's not just teaching from theory. She was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult herself, and that lived experience shapes everything about how she supports the people that she works with. Kathleen coaches adults, teens, and entire families, and she specializes in emotional intelligence and stress management. She's a national board certified teacher. She's completed trauma insight certification through NAMI, and she's an advocate for Find the ADHD Girls, an organization close to her heart. She recently spoke at the ADHD Transition Summit, and she's someone who truly understands what it feels like to spend years thinking something is wrong with you, only to find out your brain is just working differently. I wanted to have Kathleen on because connection starts with understanding ourselves. And for so many people with ADHD, that self understanding got delayed or distorted along the way. Today, we're going to talk about how that shows up in relationships, in self esteem, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Kathleen, welcome to the show. So happy you're here.
Thank you. Hi, Fernanda. So happy to be
Thank you.
here.
Thanks. So let's start with your story. What was it like realizing as an adult that you had ADHD after 20 years in education working with kids? Did anything click into place looking back?
So many things clicked into place. Yes. So I taught for about, so I started teaching at 21. I didn't find out I had ADHD until I was 41.
Wow.
And then left teaching at 43. So
Okay.
it's definitely was 20 years as a teacher, and then my time as a student it all makes sense, and well, I shouldn't say all, a lot of things make sense. Just basically how I was even treating like the students that were diagnosed with ADHD or showing the signs and symptoms and traits and things like that. So that's part of where the journey began for me. Like just being like, I think once I was diagnosed, had a better understanding, continued to take better care of myself. Like life just slowed down a little bit more and made sense. And I was like, all right, I need to do what I love doing, which is helping people and advocating for them, but kind of on my own terms, right? Don't they say like people with ADHD, they just go ahead and start a business instead of
Yes.
just like taking a nap?
Right. I actually I think I don't know the stats, but I heard and it's real from what I
Yeah,
see in the wild. Like there's a much larger portion of entrepreneurs that have ADHD compared to people in W-2 jobs, right?
right.
Yeah.
Correct. And that made me feel better in a way because I was like, oh, I guess this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of people definitely thought, people already thought I was a little, I don't know, out there, outgoing, but just doing that, leaving like a stable career. But there were a lot of reasons behind that too. And we can, dive into all that because relationships with students, with parents, bosses, colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
friendships, it all kind of ties into making more sense,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
decades later.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of people describe the adult diagnosis moment as bittersweet, a relief mixed with grief for the years where they before they had the language for what they were experiencing. Did you feel that too? And what did that grief look like for you, if so?
So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I will say what was tough was it's kind of like a 1-2 punch. I went one year and was trying to advocate for myself and was just told like, oh, this is just anxiety. and then
Mm-hmm.
was just given a Lexapro script and was like, okay, yes, this could be anxiety, but there's more. Like, I know now too, if you exhibit symptoms for a certain
Mm-hmm.
amount, I was like, okay. So I just continued to, take care of myself, keep learning. And then when I went back the following year and said all those things, like, I'm doing all these things for myself, I'm learning more, like, no, this isn't just anxiety. Then
Mm-hmm.
it happened and got the diagnosis, and happy about that. But yes, like, thinking back and like, wow, if I knew sooner, or if I, people understood me better, or I didn't get as emotional. Yeah. But also, I think, everybody's different. I don't like to dwell. Like, there's really
Mm.
nothing I can do about it except make it better. And I want to be a good example for other people who do get diagnosed late. There's
Yeah.
literally nothing I can change about what happened in the past. I can only do better and teach people and coach, and I don't know, just keep learning and figuring it out from there. But it definitely, there's been some moments like, oh, that's why I drove that boss crazy, or oh yeah, I did cry a lot if my dad saw I had a bunch of mistakes in my math homework, and it got
Yeah.
very dramatic, and what I was called, dramatic. Or like in a relationships, like that, you're so sensitive, or you're too sensitive, and then that would just, like, I would spiral, so like the
Mm.
emotional, if anything, I wish I knew more about the emotional dysregulation, if you will, and how
Mm-hmm.
to handle that. That's kind of what I
Mm-hmm.
grieved. A lot of fights, a lot of bad, bad incidents of just like exploding or being really upset, whether it be on the soccer field as a kid, or, with an old boyfriend, or with family, so that would be,
Yeah.
grieving some time that was spent very upset, and not really understanding it.
So, taking a sidebar here, real quick. So,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things from what you said. One, actually, like maybe three follow ups to what you said.
Okay. Three. I love it. That sounds exactly. That's how my brain works. So.
So, one is a lot of people that I've met in who have ADHD in my circle, including my daughter, had been misdiagnosed prior to the actual diagnosis, especially
Okay.
women. So, like, for example, your example about being diagnosed with anxiety first and then going back a year later and you're like, nope, yeah, it's ADHD. That did happen with my daughter. She was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and no ADHD. She was tested for it, but they said no. And then later, 4 years later, it came back. She went to a different provider, and sure enough, she had really, really strong, like inattentive ADHD. And then there's comorbidities, right? Like anxiety and depression might be the top comorbidities with ADHD. I learned that the hard way by
Oh yeah, and like
um,
mood disorders and things
mhm,
that all tie in. Yep.
yeah. And then the thing you said about sensitivity is a lot of people with ADHD have something called rejection
Re-
sensitivity, right?
rejection
And
sensitive dysphoria. Yep.
yeah,
RSD. The perceived, or true or perceived rejection, and then how you're
yeah,
reacting to it.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't do well with constructive criticism and things like that, or perceived criticism. So
right.
yeah, that's definitely
It's
something that went along with everything I was saying.
Yeah, and also I also see that with my daughter. And then the other thing, the third thing I was going to say is you're right. There's nothing you can do about the past, right? You can't change the past. But one thing you can do, which is you're doing already, is using your platform to educate others so that maybe people can catch these things sooner, or challenge a false negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like like if somebody says, "Oh yeah, I got tested for ADHD, but they said I didn't have it." You know, sometimes that could be a false. Am I saying this right? It's a false negative, or I
I
don't know.
I'm not. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know exactly if that's it, but I agree. Like, that's
Yeah.
one of my first client. That's what happened. Like, and she had the anxiety medicine, and that was making her worse. And we
Mhm.
talked through it, and then she went, and I don't test or diagnose people. I just help them, get the help that they need to get what they need. And so many things have changed for her since
That's
she got
good.
the late diagnosis in her 30s and stopped taking the anxiety medicine. The anxiety medicine was making her worse and making her
Hmm.
just so unhappy. So yeah, it is important to, and yes, I'm absolutely sure I have anxiety, but the main issue for me since I was a little girl is the ADHD. And, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
no, and thank you for, sharing all that about your daughter, because that's the whole point, like going
Hmm.
back and figuring it out. And it changes throughout women's life, puberty, and then
Hormones make it
perimenopause, menopause,
worse. Yeah.
childbirth, postpartum. That is overwhelming for a lot of women. And that's the more I learn, that the more I hear about that. So I
Wow.
can only speak to certain parts of my life and that, but still, like hearing all the
Yeah.
stories and listening to everybody is like, whew,
Right.
it's
Right.
a lot.
Well, so thank you for that. But your site, it talks about people feeling exhausted from masking. Can you
Yes.
explain what masking looks like day to day and how it wears on somebody over time?
So I guess it would look differently, with everybody, but it's, not literally, putting on a mask, but that's what it feels like. Acting a certain way, behaving a certain way, talking a certain way to cover up your ADHD traits or
Hmm.
symptoms that you might, whether real or imagined, perceive are not socially acceptable or not cute or
Hmm.
funny, or maybe professionally you have to like really go so hard and be someone you're really not, or behave in a certain way. And yeah, you're pretending to be someone else. And it's emotionally exhausting, physically exhausting, mentally, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it takes a toll. And and I think people do it in their families, in their jobs, in their relationships, in their friendships. And that's something I talked about in that summit. Like, and I know professionally too, like you have to be around the right people or you're going to burn yourself out one way or the other. You can't be who you really are, as long as who you are is, safe and,
Yeah.
try doing the right thing morally. Then you need to, I don't know, take a breath, evaluate how you're behaving, and or maybe like how you behave or how you interact with certain people. Like, I
Kath.
don't know. I have a hard time. I think something with that I would say is like, what I find for myself is like no happy medium. I would either like mask like crazy or just be like, absolutely not, and just be who I was. And that happened a little more as I got older, but sometimes even like ripping off the mask and being like, well, this is it. Some people don't like that, but oh well. I think that's where I'm comfortable. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
being as
Masking and
authentic.
unmasking are exhausting.
So, yeah, let's spend the next few questions are all about ADHD and relationships. And I know you
Okay.
kind of touched upon some a little bit earlier, but I'm going to be asking you about romantic partners and friendships.
Okay.
Like how does ADHD tend to show up in romantic relationships? Like what are some patterns that you see most often with the clients that you coach?
So my range of coaching is different from a completely petrified young lady to like even speak to boys because she's afraid. She's already in her head about what she's going to say and then doesn't
Yeah.
say anything. Or someone who's in like a very healthy, safe marriage, but is always just so worried about everything else that it's almost like she neglects this wonderful, husband, or like not neglects, but like forgets, just like, wow, you can just relax with him.
Mhm.
Um, we just talking romantic now. And
Yeah, yeah.
I would say
Perfect.
on my end, I'm not, I'm as single as a dollar bill, independently owned and operated, whatever you want to call it. But I know from past experiences that I would take like okay, well, I'm busy, like I can't do that right now, and be like, oh my god, like he doesn't like me anymore, or like or I would be like, oh, please talk to me, or be like, forget it, I'm never talking to him again, kind of thing, like that. No happy medium there, and
Mm.
just I think. And again, everybody's different. But I would say like the emotional dysregulation, and if you throw in, a lot of couples tend to drink together. So if there's
Mm.
drinking and heightened emotions, or if there's, distance and you misread, a text message and the tone of it, fighting. And again, every couple is different, but I'm not an expert in this field. But I
Yeah.
know from if I had it all to do over again in certain relationships, it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
And a past partner of mine, I'm again not a doctor, I am pretty sure that he also, at the time, we were both unmedicated, undiagnosed ADHD people. Oof, I'm surprised the roof didn't blow off that that place. Because we both were just not in the right, a lot of anxiety, a lot of big emotions, and just not dealing with things because we didn't know. And now
Mm.
I know, and I'm so happy to be out of that relationship, but that's a whole other podcast. But
Yes.
I've learned a lot from like my behavior, and like that's why I want to help people too.
Yes.
Showing appreciation or getting out of something. I think too with like the attachment. Sometimes you get really attached, and with the rejection, and you're stay in something too long, or
Mm.
you push away something that could be really good because you're
Mm.
like not, I don't know, you're not either understanding their emotions or yours. Everybody's situation is different.
Right. Like, and I imagine time blindness, forgetfulness, or emotional
Yeah.
intensity, those could get misread if a
Or like,
partner
yeah,
doesn't.
not doing, if you're one of those people that doesn't, like to do your chores,
Mm-hmm.
or you forget the date night, that
Mm-hmm.
that could be part of it too. That was never me. But
Nah.
I know in other partners, yeah, definitely like, or yeah, the time blindness, like, or if you're the opposite, like where you kind of hyper focus and that's why you forgot to go somewhere or do something, not because you were doom scrolling on your phone. That's what I mean
Mm-hmm.
by like it's everybody's situation and how they behave
Yeah.
with it is different. So,
Part of it, I think I'm imagining that if you're working with, let's say you're working with a family or a couple, you can help with the education, right? About so that partner who the partner to the ADHD person can understand more of how those things are manifesting, right? And
yes, like even
yeah,
like losing things and belongings and thinking like, oh, you're so irresponsible, but like you have like object impermanence, like if you don't see something you do forget where it is and things like that. Yeah, and kind of giving you like that's a big part of it too, whether it's a couple or with a child, like yes, teaching, coaching on how to, I always teaching, it's still stuck in my head, but it is teaching and coaching,
yeah.
like giving grace, but also for the person with ADHD or even the other person, like don't use it as an excuse. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't just say, oh, it's because I have ADHD. Like some people just do that and like everything they use that. And I'm like, don't do that. Yeah, I don't know if you have ever had that experience. You have to, I would say, learn and figure it out a little bit first before you just blindly say, oh, it's because of my ADHD.
Or at least, I mean, and I'm not the expert on this at all, Kathleen. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about, like, I do have a couple of friends who's one of the woman has pretty bad ADHD, and then the husband does not. And so, what I've observed in them is that they've learned a system to support the things that she struggles with. Like they set up reminder systems and like where to find the key
Oh,
systems
you have,
and
yeah, like designated spots, and like there has to be like task management and a lot of
yeah.
visuals. And I use my, Alexa, like the reminders, like to hear them, to see them, things are dinging, and calendars
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And yeah, yes, and
Yes.
that is true. If you have, yeah, and if you have someone who can be, patient with
Yes.
you, because that's, and sometimes people run out of patience,
Mm-hmm.
or you just
Mm-hmm.
get tired. If you're the person with it, you get tired of feeling like you're being treated like a child, even if
Mm.
you're trying your best and that's still not good enough. And yeah, it's really about like communication. And that's where like why I also got the emotional intelligence certification, because the first part in the program is like awareness. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
aware of how your behavior is affecting you and others, like that's step one in the
Mm-hmm.
program. and then like comprehending how your behavior is affecting others, regulating yourself, and then doing something about it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that could be a longer process for some than others. So
Nice. Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
So what
And I've
but
done it with a lot of couples. It's very interesting. It makes sense when they take the test and then you put them together, and it's like, oh, now
ah,
I you can see
nice.
it. So,
You're just saving marriages out
oh
there,
boy,
Kath.
yeah. Maybe one day I'll have my own. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I learned from all this.
So, like, what about friendships? Does ADHD change the way someone builds or maintains friendships over the years?
And I think so. And I think I know from everything you talk about too, like adult friendships can be tough and moving. I was listening to one of the podcasts where you said like how you moved and you didn't have friends and you kept trying, and
Mm-hmm.
that can be hard when it comes to that emotional. Just it might be just easier just to stay home,
Yeah.
or you might have this expectation when you go out that you are going to make a really great friend, and then you don't, and then you're in your head
Mm-hmm.
like, was that me? Like, or the guy, I laugh about this with one of my younger clients. Like, she's so quiet, and as everybody knows, like, I never stop talking, but sometimes
Yeah.
you talk because you're nervous, or you just talk a lot because you're excited, and some people might not like that, or the quiet
Mm.
person is like, oh, I wanted to come here and try and talk, and she never shut up. Or the talkative person is like, oh my god, this person's not saying a word, this is so awkward. It's really it's hard. It feels like in the cafeteria you're trying to find someone to sit with, and or like finding a spot with someone on the bus. It's still like feel sometimes like those networking events, not the one that I went to for you, but it feels like that. Like, can I go up to this person? Like, are they going to
Yeah.
talk to me? Yeah. And I don't know. I think with friendships, and it depends. It really does change, and it goes along with the emotional intelligence too. Like, I've come to realize, I'm not trying to talk badly about any of my friends, but there's one that comes to mind that I'm like, this person really is not aware of how their lack of effort or their just things that they say is hurtful. And I've
Mm.
taken time to process it too, but I'm like, no, this isn't me like overreacting. Like, that's insensitive.
Yeah.
Like, so
Can
it's
be
it's
hard to make that it can be hard to make that distinction for sure.
yes, and I will
Mm.
100% say that, and you can't
Yeah.
just fly off the handle. But if it's somebody who's important to you and there's like a
Mm-hmm.
disconnect, but not everybody wants to, can, put that effort in. But I think too, like, and I also then going to go back to like this is not everybody, but drinking and having anxiety and ADHD and depression, and it causes a lot of problems, and I think in my time, that's something I've realized too, pulling back on, yes, you can still be social, but that
But
doesn't mean it has to get out of hand.
like the alcohol can make things worse, is what you're saying?
Correct. Yes. Or like some people can't like function without it, so they won't go do something different. Like, oh, you're gonna,
Oh,
like I don't know, like that's something that I've seen too, or like they'll be bored or they're automatically saying no because it's not like a big like drinking
okay.
thing. Yeah.
I
So I don't.
got you. So you work with people who feel like everyone else got a manual that they never received. How does that feeling of being fundamentally different from other people affect someone's self esteem over time?
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen that. Like my youngest client's 12, and the oldest one's in their 70s. So it's a
Okay.
big span, but the common theme is like that they're not good enough, or like people don't like me, or people don't
Mm,
understand me, or I don't understand why they're upset with me, or I apologized and they still are mad at me, or like, again, the perception of like everybody can forget to respond to a text message, and then you really like take that to heart, and it really is,
mm-hmm.
it's self-worth, it's self-love. You're, again, everybody's different, male, female, your ages,
Yeah.
the situation, but absolutely, like the theme is like, no matter what I do, it's not enough, or I did this and they didn't appreciate it, or I showed up for them, they didn't show up for me. Like the whole, it's just never enough. Or it's like I'm trying to be myself and they just don't like me.
Mm,
Or I'm exhausted trying to pretend like I want to do this. And, so I avoid them or the
mm-hmm.
situation. I've really seen a lot of it in a range, family and friends and work too. Like
Yeah.
I try with this person, but they just don't like me or they're targeting me or,
Mm,
it hurts my heart. Like I thought, leaving, I always said like with leaving teaching, like the cost of caring hurts, it really does. Like you really care about the kids and the families, and doing this, I have, not as many, but it's like my heart, like I want to help, but I have to be, because that's kind of the thing. This is the extremes. Like you have to be careful you don't give too much of yourself, whether
mm.
it be coach or the client, or hide away and be afraid to give anything. Because I've seen that too. Like some days, like they're like, "Nah, I'm not talking," or "I'm not
Yeah.
responding to this text or this email with her either." But that's
I,
my job, and like that's like the partnership, like advocacy and accountability, and like, oh, I'm gonna get you.
yeah.
I told one of my clients, I was sending them something. I was like, I'm gonna put myself in a box and mail myself to you because I see some people in person, but some over Zoom. And I said, just be careful. I might come pop out of that box. You can't hide from me for that long. And they were like, oh God.
uh, that's funny
Yeah.
because I do have that. This is actually really sad in my opinion. Like, my heart goes out to everyone who had ADHD or has ADHD and that impacted their sense of self worth. Because once I learned about this a couple of years ago, I read a lot of those really great ADHD books, um, like ADHD 2.0, and there's a bunch of really good
Yeah. I
scattered
have
and
some behind.
stalled, like some really
Mm-hmm.
great books. And one of them, or a few of them, said, the folks with ADHD end up having a pretty harmed sense of self. And I don't know if I'm using the right words, but it's
Mm-hmm.
because of all the negative feedback that they've gotten over the years. They just, because of the symptoms, they end up
Yep.
getting a larger quantity of that negative feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
that you know it takes a compounding effect over time.
Sure. And you put that, like you said before, like comorbidities, or if you have some
Hmm.
trauma in your life, or, not everybody has that supportive family or friends or job. Yeah. And yeah, I know we've talked about a few of these things. It is. And it's like, that's that feeling of like, I'm not good enough. Or even
Hmm.
when it comes to, I will say for me, like, with sports, like soccer was my life, but if I didn't play well, or I felt like a teammate was mad at me or the coach, it was awful. And then like when I stopped playing, because that was something I felt like I was great at, I felt like I lost that part of my identity. And
Mm.
then undiagnosed, untreated ADHD can lead to like substance abuse, suicide, fast driving,
Hmm.
promiscuity, like things that just people just go for those dopamine hits, and abusive relationships, things like that. And you're thinking, I'm not good enough, so I'm going to go do this, or this
Hmm.
person doesn't love me, so I'm going to go be with this person instead. Like again,
Yeah.
that the emotional piece. If I could have it all back and just have a little clearer picture of that, I feel like my life, that's the part that I grieve. So much time like wasted being like frustrated, angry, sad, or like
Yeah.
the F it, like, because that's not good either. Just saying like, forget them or forget this or,
Right.
mm-hmm.
Is there have you seen or been a part of effective methods for restoring a person's self-worth and self-esteem, self-love with ADHD?
Yeah. And I think that comes to like what you were saying in the beginning, like
Mm.
my own lived experience. Like, and don't get me wrong, I did have I grew up, I had a good life, I had a good, I have a good family, and I'm blessed, but things weren't
Yeah.
perfect. So I just know from some low experiences, and I'm going to say too, not everybody's into therapy, but my therapist is amazing. So might
Yes.
not be for everyone, but even just like a couple sessions, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know through coaching, like one of the things we do is like a strengths assessment. And there's so
Mm.
many out there, but some people don't do that for their job or anything, or have ever thought to do that.
Yeah.
Just really finding out. Yeah, it's so important. Like there's so many different ways to go about it, and everybody's situation is different. But I think like it's not an overnight thing either. You might like it is a journey, and it might take different people, different professionals, different like I think too for me, like one of the things was like learning to be alone with myself, like the whole like, loving yourself, dating yourself, like I'm okay with it. I used to not be, because you
Mm-hmm.
find things that are wrong or things that are not done correctly. Like, I don't know, it's a whole thing, but I think you just have to learn to love yourself, whether that be, I'm not super religious, but maybe for some people it's more church or more prayer, or I got really into not only therapy, but meditation and
Mm-hmm.
journaling.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
should exercise and sunshine. It's your diet. Like, there are a lot of pieces, but it's not do it
Taking care
all
of
in one day.
yourself.
It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah. Self-care. Like one of my last teammate that I had, we would call it like, our school mascot, we were the bears, and we were like the self-care bears, because you have to take care of yourself. You can't, whether it's corporate or it's teaching, you can't drain yourself so much, you have nothing left. So it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And then
Very
on top
true.
of any other things you have going on, but
Mm.
can't pour from the empty cup, right?
Yes. And so like and thank you for that. Like with the you talked about therapy and I had a question in here about unlearning the shame and actually building a relationship with your own brain instead of
Yeah.
fighting it. Is that mostly how you've been unlearned it? Like was it through therapy or
So, and thank you for saying that, because you just made me think of another resource through
okay.
NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And here in Charlotte, they have their Navigator Center in South End. I went to, there's neurodivergent support groups. And I
Nice.
went, and one of the topics was shame. And I wasn't really quite clear, like, I know what it means, but I was, listening to the other people. And so that's something too. Like there are support groups, whether in person or virtual. And that was amazing. I've never done anything like that in my life. And I went to a few, and hearing people like the way they were pouring their heart out, and, you learn from others who have been through it. So that's another thing. So can you ask me that
Yes.
question again? When you
Yeah.
said shame, it brought me to
No, no,
the
this
support
was
groups.
actually I'm really glad you brought that up. It was basically like how did you or how does somebody go about unlearning the shame associated with having a neurodivergence? And I was just wondering if it was through therapy, but you just brought up the support group. That sounds amazing, you know?
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
there's so many. So I would say yes, the therapy, and then like honestly, and this has been a process. It's really been for me over the past 5 or so years.
Mm-hmm.
But therapy, taking better care of myself, like
Mm-hmm.
advocating for myself. And I'm not some big exercise guru. I don't eat this perfect diet. Like, yes, I love my red wine, but like I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
like smaller things, like what atomic habits, like right, 1% better every day, and just that's what it took. Like, and I do a lot, like with journaling, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't just write. So I
Mm-hmm.
use a lot of journals from Vex King, and there's a lot of prompts and questions. And like one of the things is like evaluating like your vibe, or like how you're feeling. And did you exercise? Did you do something spiritual? Did you see a friend? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and gives you prompts on like what's the nicest thing that you've ever done for someone? What's the nicest thing someone's ever done for you? Like gives you the questions. So you're not just like, I don't know what to write. I'm going to write my grocery list, because not everybody can think like that. So I
Yeah.
needed those prompts, and I have one behind me. I have to start. It's
I
called Deep
love,
Meaning.
yeah.
Do
Can
you know
you
who I'm talking
share?
about?
No,
Vex
like I
King?
love prompted journals. Can you
Yeah.
share?
It's this one's called Deep Meaningful Conversations with
Oh,
Yourself. I've done one. It's called. He has another one called like the self-help, like the best self-help book is written by you. And then his
Oh,
second one was a manifestation one. So I finished that and really manifested this new life, I feel like, and put the work into it. But then
yeah.
this is the next one. Yeah, so he's on Instagram. Him and his wife make these. It's like the rising circle. So I don't know. These have been really great for me. I started it back. Like if you look at the ones from like 2023, 2024, it's like I got to get out of this career. I need to figure this out. I need to do this. So the
That's
prompts
amazing.
definitely help. And then
Yeah.
there's like they give like little exercises and things to do, things like positive things to look for and or seek out in the day to like slow down or try your best to slow down.
Yes, yes. So, if someone is listening right now and recognizing themselves or someone they love in everything that we've talked about, what would you want them to do first?
What would I want them to do first? I would want them to just take a deep breath, make sure you're in a safe space and just know that you're not alone. Know that even if it's not me, there are, so many people or so much information out there. Whether it be you start with, TikTok or YouTube or, whatever it is where most people go. Like just don't think that you're alone, and
Mm-hmm.
just the tiniest little thing, like if there's something you were looking into, like, or wanting to research, like research it. If there was
Yeah.
that person you wanted to talk to, go talk to them. If you wanted to go back to church, like go, or try, like just try something different,
Yeah.
and it's going to be okay. Like there's a you're not doing anything wrong by being who you are,
Mm.
like, and if you're around people you feel like you can't be yourself, or you're working in a place where you don't feel good, then you need to um basically take small steps to make it better. That's really the simplest thing. Might not sound simple, but it's
Yeah.
worth a shot, right? Why
Yeah.
stay stuck? That's why my logo is the lotus, like rise from the mud and bloom into something beautiful.
Yes, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So, where can people find you?
Okay. Everywhere. My website is coachedbykath.com. I'm on Instagram at ADHD Coach Kath. Same for TikTok and YouTube. And then I'm on LinkedIn, the grown up site,
Ah,
Kathleen M. Long. Yeah. And just at all the Charlotte networking events where I meet
yeah.
all these wonderful people. Yeah.
Nice.
Or working my tail off, trying not to be, working too hard, trying to remember to like have a life
Yes.
and see nice people
Yes.
and take and practice what I preach. So yeah.
Exactly. Taking care of yourself. And like if somebody listens to this and they want to work with you, you do online and in person or
Mostly online,
on
for people I do not know. Like, so
okay.
it's if I
Hmm.
or somebody who I don't know wanted to meet in the coffee shop first, kind of thing. Like I
Yeah.
primarily would. I'm not going to just bring, because it's my home office, so I'm not just going to bring
Yeah.
strangers into my home. But yeah, I do a free complimentary 30-minute call. Usually with
Hmm.
all this talking, it winds up being more than that. But I genuinely just want to help. Like if you just really need someone to talk to, I'm here. You can't afford it right now, that's okay. Need a
Hmm.
payment plan? Like I work with people because I know, like, as a little girl, as a teenager, 20s, 30s, I needed someone like me. Like, and that's what I hear
Yes.
from people. Like, where were you for my kids? Or like, I didn't even know that this was a thing, like your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I offer that, and people can look at my website and sign up for that, or go on Instagram, TikTok. All the
Hmm.
links are there to book the call. And I'm available too for like adults. Like I know from being a teacher, parents
Hmm.
need like the later times. So, so I
Definitely.
don't want that to deter people either. So, and I
Yes.
get it. I get it as, I definitely, it sounds cheesy, but I do want to help. I genuinely want to help, or at least send you in the right direction.
Totally. And I mean, and I can tell that from just talking to you and your energy and you're legit. You know what I mean? Uh,
I appreciate that.
but
Yes.
when I I've met other ADHD coaches, not a lot of them. You're the fourth ADHD coach that I meet in since I started like becoming aware that this was a thing. Like,
Yeah.
and every time I talk to somebody who's an ADHD coach, like I can tell like there's a huge need for this. There's a huge need from just knowing from my daughter's experience and other. I actually happen to have a lot of friends with ADHD. I think maybe because of the entrepreneurial realm.
Yeah.
Um,
And a lot of later in life women too, or
mm-hmm.
people, a lot of it is like their kids are getting diagnosed and they're like,
Hmm.
maybe I should look into this type of thing. And the
Yeah.
stigma is being reduced, it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, it's only boys, or you're just, busy, or you just have anxiety.
Yeah. Or
So
like
that's good.
something I don't appreciate personally, and but I'm just learning to live with it is when somebody says, "Oh, everybody's got ADD," and I'm like, "Nope."
Oh, I have some of my social media reels. I have one where I have like breathing fire. I cannot stand that. Or when people try to tell you you don't have it, you just say
Mm-hmm.
that. Oof,
Mm.
Fernanda, don't
Yeah, I
even get
don't.
me started.
Yeah, no.
That is, I'm the same way.
I've gotten myself into some social arguments, not really arguments, but like
Yeah,
I have
disagreements,
called people
right?
out on this before, and I'll be like, actually, no, everybody does not have ADD. It's an
Right.
actual thing that people have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
not fake. Nobody's
No, and then
faking
on
it.
the other end, I'm not a huge advocate or like fan of it's my superpower. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it can be debilitating and it can ruin lives if, it's not taken care of and treated and taken seriously.
Treated. Yeah.
So,
True.
but
True.
that's why the knowledge and everything that's out there is super important. That's why I start one of the things, like pick up a magazine, like
Oh
in the
yeah.
Harris Teeter. Like, I pay for
Attitude.
this one, but here, like, I got this one at the Harris Teeter. Like, when you're checking out in the grocery stores, they have I have a Time magazine back here. Pick up a magazine, maybe go old school, read,
Mm-hmm.
not from an
Yeah.
influencer, but like that's how for me it started that way,
Yeah.
and just being like, okay, how do I present this? Like, I like to make people laugh, but I also want to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I get this information out and, get people to understand, like, it's okay, or let's help you so that it gets better,
Yeah,
or help
exactly.
your
Lots.
kiddos so they don't, wind up years later being like, oh man, I wish
Yeah,
I would have taken care of this. Yeah. So,
exactly. Exactly. I thank you so much. There's a lot of good resources. We'll definitely put your website and your social media in the show notes so people can find you. And
yes.
do people, if you're interested, do follow Kath because she's got good content. She's out there fighting the good fight,
Yeah.
and
Or tell me what you want me to like look into or find.
yeah,
I'm always looking for feedback, but I feel like,
yeah.
because why not? No, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is great. I love what you're doing too, like letting
Oh,
people talk about everything and just being
thank you.
yourself and
Yeah.
love and friends. We'll circle back to that in another episode. The love part.
Yeah, you can come back and talk about your dating life. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
boy.
Ah,
Oh, so
well,
funny.
thank you so much for this conversation. I think what stands out to me is most how much of this comes back to connection to other people, but also connection with ourselves, and how much
Absolutely.
healthier that becomes once we understand how our brains work instead of blaming ourselves for how they work.
The brain and the
Um,
heart
the brain
connectedness.
and
Yeah.
the heart, yeah. So if you want to learn more about Kath, feel free to reach out to her directly. You can find her at Coached by Kath, and I'll drop her information in the show notes. To everyone listening, if this episode brought something up for you, I hope you'll sit with it a little. Maybe it's time to look at your own story with a little more compassion. Maybe it's time to have a conversation with someone you love about what's really going on underneath the surface. Either way, that's what connectedness is all about. Please like and subscribe and share this with someone you love. And thanks for spending time with me. I'll see you next time.